to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another special message from the Ancient Ones. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. I really do pray that you are well, beloveds, in all your ways, and that you're moving into a whole new book for yourself, a whole new reality, a whole new beginning, because that is what is open to us. And it is such we're in the best of times and we're in the worst of times, beloveds, because we're closing out, not just a chapter, we're closing out a very painful book. And that book can only be closed through mental healing and mental, there has to be like a rebalance, a balancing of the books of overstanding, understanding, and understanding, so that there's a healing, there's a deeper, there's a total acceptance for everything that happened. And that some of us, that book was a freaking horror movie or a horror story. That's not movie. It was a horror story. It was absolutely terrible. Some of the things that happened, some of the scars we got from that, it's heavy. But the Ancient Ones have been working with me over this last year with a major healing, beloveds, that I needed. And they kept telling me that your healing will come through revelation. Healing comes through revelation. There's no physical thing that anyone can do that will give you a certain healing. It's you who has to reach that healing spiritually. And sometimes it's by others confessing what they did to you. But most of the time, people aren't that brave. People will want to take some of those dark secrets to their grave because they never ever thought you would figure it out. Please check out my video on we are living in the worst nightmare of our enemies because we woke up to some of the sick things that they did to us. And, so that healing through revelation, beloveds, it's not so much about overstanding what physically happened. Because I know I'm talking to a lot of people who were physically, sexually, emotionally, psychologically abused. Like they grew up in very toxic environments, whether the toxic environment was their home, whether the toxic environment was the school, whether the toxic environment is the marriage that they're trying to come out of. I see your emails, beloveds. I'm praying for you. Whatever it did, it created an imbalance. It created a bipolar, personality, but it was the best education we could ever have gotten. In fact, it helped us to build the survival skills that we will need to be leaders and way showers in this new time. It helped us to build that thick skin that we would require. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made it in this season. And I know that's not enough to overstand like why some things happened, because some things are too deep, beloveds. But you need to seek that revelation. And you need to be healing, because you see, it's like layer to layer. There's layers to this. And so first, it's like when your guardian angels expose maybe, a molestation event that happened in your childhood, or, for some, I'm so sorry, a rape situation that happened. If you recognize how, if you've seen the pattern, or I can share the pattern with you, the way our guardian angels and our spiritual team lead us to our own healing, because we have to be our own healers at this point, beloveds. There's no one who's coming to heal you. Trust me. It's you and your spiritual team. And that's why a lot of you are in isolation right now, or you've got very reduced social contact. And what happens, beloveds, when your spiritual team is leading you down a healing is first they'll expose, like, when you were 2, you went through this experience, and they'll give you a flash and you'll be like, And then they'll, and you'll cry and you'll get all emotional, and then they'll reveal the next stage of that. And then they'll allow you to kind of heal and kind of acclimatize that, like come to terms with that, and then they'll reveal, and that's how it goes. Because sometimes if we were told the whole thing, it would totally break us, or it would make us like those people who did that to us. It would create so much rage and anger. And so we have to heal the mind of that narrative. And there's a particular thing that happened to me, beloveds, when I was 2 years old. And I'm going to share, this is a really personal story, but I really feel like a lot of you, it's the inner child is what we need to heal. That's what's going to get in our way. And when I was two, beloveds, first of all, let me just tell you, my mother always told me, I don't remember much of my childhood. I can't tell you who was in my standard 5 class. I have a friend who can tell me like every single person who was in that class. She remembers every single teacher from, grade 1 to freaking the end of high school. I don't remember most of my teachers. I don't remember most of the students. Like there's a blurriness. And, I had a good friend who was a psychologist, and he always said, that shows that there was some kind of trauma, which means that you kind of, started to blur your vision, and you'd create these blackouts of situations, or there was something there. And when he told me I had never thought of this, but let me get back to my childhood. So I really don't remember much of it. I don't remember birthday parties. I don't remember, it's a blank. I was sent to boarding school when I was 6 years old. So I do remember that every year my mother would send me a cake, my favorite cake from this hotel that I had grown up with. Who knows what was in that cake, beloved? Seriously. At this point, I'm just like, because all I remember about that cake is, on the birthday, I'd share it with friends. We'd have this, whatever. And then some of the cake was always left, and I'd kind of always go, in the evenings, because we lived in these dormitories, and I'd like have a slice of cake all alone. And I'm just wondering, like, what was that about? Because there's only one story that my mother has shared with me about my life, about my childhood. And it was about how when I was 2 years old, a certain very, very powerful woman, who happens to be a relative, asked to take me on holiday to Mombasa. And she always tells me how she bought me a first class ticket, and I'd gotten all these like new clothes from, the divided kingdom. So she packed them all up, and, and then she kind of skips to the end of the story, and she talks about how I returned and all my clothes were missing. And it was very painful to her because it had been very expensive. They'd all been new and they took everything, and I was just left with the clothes on my body. And she always told me this story. And I always wondered why. So when I started to awaken, beloveds, it was revealed to me what had happened. First of all, it was revealed to me that, there's some spells that people do to kind of block your destiny. So one of the things they'll do is they'll take your garments, and they'll with some ritual stuff, and they'll throw it in the deep depths of the ocean. And that's kind of to bury you. Or they'll actually literally bury it in the ground, bury it in a graveyard. But here they threw it in the ocean. And that's kind of to like make you forgotten, to, to totally finish you, from a young age. Like you'll never know yourself. You'll never be seen. There's so many dimensions to this. You'll never achieve what you were meant to achieve. You'll never, even spiritually, you won't be seen. So that was the first revelation that I got of this story. And I was like, whoa, like they did that. It's that ritual, but I'm water. So it actually only helped to benefit me. It actually worked as a security. And then later on, because beloveds, I've always had this scar on my inner thigh. I mean, I'm getting really deep. This is very personal. And I always wondered about that. And whenever I ask my family members, they'd always say, oh my gosh, when you were a child, we put you in some hot water. They always blamed one aunt. She put you in some hot water and you burnt and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what happened, beloveds. That's absolutely not what happened. You see, this powerful woman, I come from a family of high-level wizards and witches, beloveds. And I'm sorry if I'm exposing them now. I mean, people don't even know who my family is. I don't even use their name. But beloveds, that woman When she took me to Mombasa, she performed a particular ritual on me. I call it the burning spear ritual. And I have the scars to prove it. And that ritual is like they take your innocence and your destiny and your star and everything, literally. And many don't even survive. Many children don't survive that. But you see, things didn't go according to plan when they tried to do that to me because I'm a chosen one. And instead of them taking something from me, they gave me their entire inheritance. We're talking of like, what was it, Israel and his older brother? That kind of situation. But this entire story, I've always felt so betrayed by my spiritual team, so betrayed by my ancestors, beloveds. Because I was like, how could you let this happen? I thought I was spiritually protected like 24/7. Because anything that is allowed to happen, beloveds, is ultimately for your benefit. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to a special message from the Ancient Ones. It's all about healing. You know, your healing is going to come through your revelation. And your healing, beloveds, is the only thing that's going to keep you from next. That's the only reason that you might have found your life has stalled right now. It's because you need to fully understand fully what happened to you and why. And you need to make peace with it, because a lot of the things, those final, that deep wound, there's a core wound, beloveds. There's a core wound that has led to everything. And that core trauma, that core wounding is what you need to get to. And you see, what will happen is that your angels and your spiritual team will show you the surrounding, injustices that were done to you. And as you heal, as you get stronger, they will slowly guide you to that core trauma, that ultimate, that original trauma. For some, it happened with their womb. Maybe your mother tried to abort you or something, and you still feel that core trauma. For many, it may have been even not fully understanding, like the death of a beloved family member when you were young, and death was never explained to you, and so that became like a traumatic thing for you, or losing a parent. But for most of the chosen ones, it was someone trying to take our powers by force. Spiritual marriages with our parents. People performing all kinds of wicked rituals on us, physically, sexually, emotionally. People, messing with our food. And you see, beloveds, what happened to me at 2, when I was 2 years old, it has had so many ramifications that I didn't see. But it's had such a great obstacle, because I was like, how could you allow that to happen? How could you allow that to happen? That's been my greatest thing. I think I've been angry, at the Most High. This is so emotional. And my spiritual, and my guardian angels for so long, beloveds, because I was like, how could you allow them to perform such an evil thing on me? When I was like 2, I didn't have any defenses. And beloveds, it's been such a stumbling block, because I haven't been able to come into my full power, because I just couldn't heal. I just couldn't forgive. And, because literally like some sexual ritual was done on me at 2, beloveds, that burnt me. Like, what the hell? And then since then, they've been targeting me. They've been wiping my memory. Like, so much has happened, beloveds. And that healing actually came this year on my birthday. Like I finally got the revelation, beloveds. And the revelation was like I inherited their entire queendom, their entire kingdom, their everything. I got it through that ritual. And I've always wondered because, I have an uncle who's in leadership. He's leading a couple of people, and his leadership has been so tumultuous. And I've always wondered because his father was a leader and his father was such a powerful leader and his father was also a seer and, a mystic man. And his father did so many rituals and had so many instruments of power, but I've never seen him carry any of these instruments of power, beloveds. And I've always wondered about that. And his leadership has been so tumultuous. There's been so many issues there. He's been abused so much has happened, beloveds, to him and his leadership. And I always wondered, it's almost like he didn't get the blessing of his father. And I always wondered about that. I always wondered why he never became the greatness of, because he even carries a beast of a name, such a powerful name. He was destined to be one of, a great. Let me not get too deep into that. But so I never saw him carrying any instrument of power, and I never saw him walking in the power of his father. And it's because the mother gave me that inheritance. Because she tried to mess with the chosen one. I got their kingdom, beloveds. Their instruments of everything. That was my compensation. And it's like they inherited the curse of my family. This is not a joke thing, beloveds. And when this was revealed to me, I was like, oh my God, this is too much. What? Why would you do that? Why would you do that for a couple gifts? Okay, I was coming fully loaded, I came fully loaded with my spiritual gifts, beloveds. And many people may not get this, beloved. I don't even know if I'm going to release this video. It's too personal. Maybe I'll in the future, but they gave me their entire queendom, beloveds, their entire kingdom. That blessing is mine. I didn't even want it. I came on a totally other mission spiritually. I came for a whole other purpose, to heal, to help, to sing. And they robbed me of those things. They tried to, actually. They didn't rob me. They tried to. And they were told I was a chosen one. And there's a reason I'm sharing this, beloveds. Because there's some of you where that core wounding is so deep. It brings tears to your eyes, just like mine did to mine. That core wounding, because you realize it's had such a domino effect on not even on your life story, but on how you felt about yourself, on your personality, on your self-love. It has impacted so many things. It's impacted so many relationships, so many, experiences. It's been the cause of your self-sabotage. It's been the cause of you blacking out so many parts of your story. That core wounding is the chain that you need to break. And you need to recognize that you were compensated, not today. You were compensated then. And that compensation is like a gift box that's just lying in wait for you. Because you only get it when you've fully healed. And that healing can only come through revelation. Spiritual revelation that only your team can give you, because they can't tell you they did a burning spear ritual on you and took your freaking virginity at 2. They can't tell you things like that. These are things they never even thought you would figure out. That your uncle raped you. That your aunt or your mother molested you. Whatever it is, beloveds. But once you know that core wound, because it's the one thing that you've blacked out, so you need to remember. Because this is the only way they rob you of your destiny. Once you need to turn it from from a painful experience that is holding you back into a testimony. Like, I survived this. I made it through this. Never, ever, ever would I have thought I would. And that can only come through healing, and it's a spiritual healing. It's a psychological healing. It's a mental healing, beloveds. And that healing, they won't give you that healing. They won't give you the truth. They never will. They hope you'll never discover. They've done everything. But can you imagine that I've been hateful towards them. I've wanted vengeance on them all my life, beloveds. I've felt so much pain over this. And yet the compensation was already given, the justice. And I told you guys, it's only when I realized that I wanted justice and not revenge. Because the thing is, as a seer, as a psychic, I see everyone who was involved. Everyone's role. I see it, beloveds. And so I could chant them down. I could also, because I'm an inheritor of both the good magic and the bad. I could go to war with them on their level. And it's like, I feel like that's even why certain giftings and skills were not open for me, because I would have regretted that and it would have been a waste of my time. Because justice was already served. I just couldn't see it because I was in so much pain. Like, I got their queendom. I got their kingdom. They gave me their nation like this. Like, how could she? And I always think of this mother, like, how could you do that? How could you do that? How could you sell something so precious because of wickedness and greed? And that's how you'll feel when it's revealed to you. You'll be like, nah, they gave me what? I got what? And now I'm free from that. In a twinkle of an eye, beloveds. Well, it took like a day for me to just go through the process. I even had to take a spiritual bath and I slept for hours. And now I'm just calling in my inheritance, that's all. I don't have to do battle with nobody. The battle was already done then. And now, when I look at how everyone's life has gone, justice continues to be served, beloveds, for what happened to me. It's like this changed everything, beloveds. It's like in my family, there was this curse where women never stayed with their husbands, So you'd always see like the majority of women were single. And it's like now that thing has transferred to them, where the women in their families are now all single. Or the majority. It's like there was a transference of something they didn't recognize. And so your healing will come through your revelation, because whatever anyone did to you, they paid in full and then some. I was almost like, well, that's a bit too much. Damn. Because there were times when I'd be praying for hours in my room, like, I demand justice for what was done to me. They're not paying. I don't see anything happening to them. But it's been happening their whole lives, beloveds. She robbed her son of his true inheritance. She took his crown and gave it to me. Like, damn. I don't even know if I'm going to release this story, but this is not for everybody. As I told you, there are layers of chosen ones, beloveds. And the highest ones, the ones who are carrying that Some call it God and Goddess energy. The ones who are carrying that Messiah, that Christ energy, like that is your inherit. That's who you're moving into. The final like frontier for you, the final thing that is standing in your way is this core wound, which you almost feel like you could. How do you forgive rape as a child, molestation? How do you forgive that? It's beyond. It can only come through revelation of what your compensation was. Because trust me, there's not a minute that your spiritual team was not with you. There's not anything that is allowed to happen to you is for a reason. Like this is bigger than I could ever have imagined. What I got in return. And so I'm at peace with it. I'm at peace with everything my family did. I'll definitely write a story on it. It deserves to be a movie. But I'm at peace, beloveds. Because in the end, the chosen ones win. Tuko pamoja.